was intoxicated. Looks like drugs, Adderall, crack, meth.
Now, to an exclusive 6 on Your Side investigation. Court hearings and documents shining new light on the supervision that 16-year-old Ma'Khia Bryant was getting from Children's Services. She was shot and killed by a Columbus police officer on April 20th during an incident at a foster home.
She's the one with a knife. Investigator Haley Nelson has been digging deeper into this for months. So, Haley, what have you learned?
Bob, Stacia, a recent court hearing led me to look deeper into the care Ma'Khia Bryant was receiving and question Franklin County Children's Services. Police reports and that court hearing are revealing that one of the people responsible for taking care of her may have been battling a drug problem. I've been reaching out to Children's Services for answers, learning more from them just today. Removed from her mother's care, and police reports reveal multiple foster placements. Ma'Khia Bryant was in her 5th foster home in less than 2 years when she died, shot by a Columbus police officer. It's what many in the community call a tragic end, bringing the 16-year-old's life and the care she was receiving into the national spotlight.
This is the case of the state of Ohio versus
Inside the Franklin County Municipal Court in late June.
I'm charged in this case with domestic violence and assault. I will accept the written plea of not guilty, requesting trial by jury.
One statement read in open court led me to take serious questions to Children's Services.
The defendant is a social worker with Children's Services. Apparently he has issues with alcohol, was intoxicated, looks like drugs, Adderall, crack, meth, has been diagnosed as bipolar, not med compliant, abuses those meds, has been suicidal in the past, homicidal threats including plans for use in the past, weapons use or threat to the victim in the past.
That's referring to the person who documents and sources say had been working as Ma'Khia Bryant's caseworker.
Currently works for Franklin County Children's Services.
I took that name to the Bryant family's legal team, who have the same on record. We aren't naming the caseworker because this person isn't facing charges connected to Bryant's death. This is all from a court hearing for domestic violence, events happening in late May. I started looking into this person's past. These Circleville Municipal Court documents from 2009 show the same name and date of birth. Inside, it details reports from witnesses. This person was, quote, stopping at houses and, quote, trying to open car doors looking for prescription medication to take. When a deputy arrived, the person was found inside his car that had struck a tree. The deputy, quote, could not detect an odor of an alcoholic beverage, but says this person was unsteady with slurred speech. The deputy starting a field sobriety test and wrote he, quote, would not follow my ink pen with his eyes, and he almost fell twice while I was trying to administer the test. This person was arrested and eventually pleaded to a physical control charge. This was prior to being hired by the county in 2015, but no mention of it on this job application. I looked through personnel files and employment records, but many pages like this are blacked out. On this page, it shows the county was aware this was flagged in a background check. Is there enough oversight? I took these questions to Children's Services. What did they know and when? Was Children's Services aware of this while he was working with children? How many caseworkers and active cases are there in the county? How big is the caseload on these workers? Is there not enough state funding for Children's Services programs? Their response: there is no further case information that FCCS is able to provide at this time. No response when I asked again. While they aren't talking, the case file reveals many more details. I did request and review this worker's file in a public records request. It shows different times this person was put on leave, including just before Bryant was shot and killed. The reason not shown. It even details the load of cases given to workers, here listing 18 cases, for example, at other times 12 cases. Throughout these pages, positive reviews from a review stamped November 2019. It says the caseworker, quote, understands the importance of building relationships and nurtures those relationships to promote child safety and permanency. In this review from 2017, it details struggles with record keeping. It was previously discovered this person was, quote, struggling to maintain valid and detailed documentation that's relating to client contacts. When you look at the Bryant case from your perspective, were there fumbles or were there issues that stand out to you?
First, we don't feel that Ma'Khia should have had to come into foster care. There was a failure to provide supportive services to the grandmother that would have kept her safe.
Ronald Browder founded the Ohio Federation for Health Equity and Social Justice after around a 25-year career working for the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services and leading the Children's Defense Fund. Browder has been a foster parent himself.
Ohio, is sort of a bifurcated system in that it has state supervision and county administration, but the reality is there is not enough state money being put into child welfare to support families, to support the system, to do what needs to be done.
Browder thinks the key is more community resources.
We far too often bring families into our system. We've got to figure out how to keep them from coming into the system.
Kids are at the center of all this, and data from the state shows it's an increasing number of kids here in Ohio. In 2010, more than 21,000 Ohio kids were in foster care. By 2019, more than 27,000, and 2020, nearing 26,000 kids. I asked Browder about my findings into Bryant's caseworker. Are there enough checks in place to make sure that these kids are safe?
Well, I think that county directors, I think they do a pretty good job of making sure that their staff are competent. Again, Hayley, I think what becomes a problem is when people get overwhelmed. And that's whether you are coming into the system as a client or whether you're working in the system, you have to know where to go to get help. And you have to feel comfortable enough to go to get help.
Was she failed by the system?
Oh, I think absolutely. I think the system failed her I think it failed her in a number of ways. We have to really think about what happens in crisis. When families are in crisis, we have to decide, are we there to help, or are we there to harm? If we bring a child into a system because we felt that they were in danger and they end up dead, somehow it just doesn't seem like that worked. Somewhere something failed.
I did try to set up an interview with this caseworker. I first requested this worker's file in June. I asked about my findings first in late July, and after several more emails, just today Children's Services provided more information, telling me this caseworker was put on leave in February this year. I don't see that date in the files they sent me. Instead, a leave commencing about a week before Bryant's death in April. They also say this caseworker was assigned to the Bryant family in December of 2018 through February of this year. I was also sent this release this afternoon. In it, Franklin County Children's Services says they became aware of this worker facing criminal charges while on leave, which started a pending discipline process.
So, Haley, what are Franklin County Children's Services telling you about any changes since Ma'Khia Bryant's death?
Sure, Stacia, of course, they say that they grieve the loss of Ma'Khia Bryant along with her family and community, especially the people that worked with her. I'm also told they continue to review policies and protocols. At last check, Bryant's shooting death is still being reviewed by special prosecutors appointed by the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office. On your side for 6 Investigates, I'm Haley Nelson.
ABC6 investigators have been looking into the care of foster kids around Ohio after many of you reached out to us. Haley Nelson taking months to look into the care Ma'Khia Bryant was receiving before her death, taking questions to the county. And she joins us now from the newsroom. Haley, after your investigation aired, I know you heard from a lot of people, including some state lawmakers. What did you hear?
One state lawmaker is drafting a Bill of Rights for kids in the foster care system. There are 31 rights in all. And I asked, how could this impact not just the system, but Ohio kids?
These kids are still developing. These kids are still learning.
That's one reason State Senator Tina Maharath is sponsoring a bill to create a Foster Youth Bill of Rights.
So there's already 20 states that's already passed this piece of similar legislation.
It will provide any child in the system a copy of those rights and a full explanation.
When they are immediately placed into the custody of the state, So some of the rights for this Bill of Rights will include rights to remain free from any physical, verbal, or emotional abuse or harm, and to be protected from all forms of sexual exploitation.
She says there are many more, like the right to live in a clean, safe place. Senator Ma'Khia has a special perspective.
That was the #1 issue when I was in foster care. My caseworker not only give me, they harassed me a little bit, tell me I'm never going to make it that far, but they also didn't really have a grasp understanding of what are my health needs, what are my educational needs, what are my cultural and ethnicity needs.
What do you think the impact would be if this went into effect?
I think the impact would be that the foster youth will have a better understanding of things that they are supposed to have.
We started talking after my investigation into the supervision Ma'Khia Bryant was receiving before her death.
The defendant is a social worker with Children's Services. Apparently he has issues with alcohol.
Which led me to take serious questions to Franklin County Children's Services.
It was very disappointing and disheartening to see some of the information that did surface on with Ms. Bryant. Ms. Bryant was very young. She did not sign up to be in the broken system. We as lawmakers, we as state agencies, and we who signed up to serve the state of Ohio should have been taken care of for better than we did.
The senator hopes this will move through the Statehouse quickly.
Once they transition to adulthood, they could be really beneficial to our economy, to our state, and to our culture. But it all starts with knowledge and education.
The senator says she worked with foster care groups on this and that it's being circulated through the Statehouse right now. Friday is the deadline for more co-sponsors to sign up. They don't expect a first hearing on this bill for at least a month. Now, these rights would be distributed, I'm told, to kids of all ages and would inform kids how to report any issues that come up. I will track its progress for you. On your side for 6 Investigates, I'm Haley Nelson.
Today, we're asking state senators sharing more about their efforts to pass a law creating a foster youth Bill of Rights. Investigator Haley Nelson tracking all of this. Could it make a difference?
Because I would have to stand like this. And I invite anybody to try this themselves and see how long it takes before their arms get tired. And I would have to stand like that for hours as a punishment. That was pretty much a daily punishment. That was their go-to. I also had severe food restrictions to the point when I was finally adopted out of that home. I was visibly malnourished.
Former foster youth sharing harrowing stories like this. One reason some are advocating for change at the state level.
And so if you're thinking you heard me incorrectly, you did not. I was not allowed to sit down. So this Bill of Rights is a great foundation, bottom line, for change.
Senators Tina Ma'Khia from Central Ohio, a former foster child herself, and Teresa Fetter taking our questions about Senate Bill 254, which introduces a foster youth Bill of Rights. It lists 31 rights like freedom from abuse and the right to live in a clean, safe place, which would be distributed to kids in the foster care system, a growing number.
From 2011 to 2019, the number of children in Ohio's foster youth system increased by 30%.
And the state is doing a very poor job. And it's time to put the resources and the foundation and guardrails to protect our most vulnerable.
One name brought up, Ma'Khia Bryant. I've been investigating the care she received, asking questions about her caseworker.
If our voice is not being captured, then I'm worried about the next Ma'Khia Bryant. I'm worried about the next Deanna Jones. And so, at some point we have to be proactive. We can't continue to be reactive.
But could this make a difference? Some asking how or if rights would get to kids. Some former foster youth believe this is a foundation, creating change only if an independent office is also created.
What is striking to me is the issues that I saw as a foster child, I saw as a caseworker. And I would love to be able to see something really put in place to really not be window dressing.
Senator Fetter planning to advance that independent office in an amendment to House Bill 4.
And since the state of Ohio is the parent, We're going to have to get busy getting all this done because this is part of the state's responsibility to protect our most vulnerable citizens.
On your side, I'm investigator Haley Nelson.